when you break up, it's like, dude, but you acted like you could do without me. You acted like more right with the loss of me. And now that I've left you, you're hovering around like rash on my face, unwanted, angifuni ngiphume kuwe. Sonke lesikhathi moyenzani kanti njengoba sengihambile so hohoba hakana, even there's a tremble, a a vibrato in your voice. Kidikele, oh baby, please come back. Also na le abutu na le vibrato. How nganga ure kuhle mara kanjani kune vibrato da when you were acting ngathi mongenanda. Yeah, so frankly, reverse psychology ya black men strategy sesabona se weird. I cannot have lesona. I guess boneka next angispa iskela msakho lamamela. I can say boneka next. Kise shabaka s because mina ngiyazi ukuthi nginani. And then the Lord made me realize to salivate after love until you ignore what you want. To salivate after love until we ignore it. It takes a lot. Do you think I'm beautiful? Do you love me? When you're still around, he's acting like, listen, cool. Let them keep acting cool, dog. Be cool. Kodwa bakhona abantu ngaphandle laphaya abakwazi ukuthanda bangenandaba nokuba cool. And I mean like, yeah, honey, that's where I'm going. That's where I'm going. Like I'm young, not that's where I'm going. So that's not where I'm going. I get like that whole situation in more twanze it's like me why so I get to one so every so often I get a very elaborate present birthday. Now all the other times during the year I'm sure and confused. Yeah, anyway. So that's just the nature of all this like annoying situation. Doing its rounds all over the streets, black men banjalo, but like black women. Herein lies the point I'm actually trying to arrive at. Is what we're trying to do. Mamela, listen, I'm out here trying to create captions again, like what's going on. Okay, arrive situation name and I give a little confused, Ramona. What means I'm thinking a little confused. I don't want to get confused. Oh no. Yeah, so I really I could not care less for all that activity. Like let it go and swim in a very deep pool and struggle to keep afloat and so drown. I feel like that's how that situation can eventuate. So kupandafana leto kono na ko difiela jaka ga likenze the brooms ke haleka fiela akere halikenze dirt sorry likenze dirty. So since likenze dirty hambani angingandaba makaona le ntho e ke tlo getang to yona because bosi this is the point I was getting at as in situation enane it don't cost that conversation because keep busy because I'm okay the captions happy and as I know I ain't cost that situation hakana I'm not gonna be able to concentrate on what I need to concentrate on. The thing I'm trying to get at right this present juncture, okay listen, I'm just keeping this, I'm keeping it, I'm keeping whatever it is that I chose, and if I'm unhappy then if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. I've been recovered, look at that, I'm happy now. Kitaba sharp, kitaba right. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure from now on a woman's desire will be for her own husband. That is the era of the century of women in totality. Those are the women that are under the curse. Women who are under the second Adam, otherwise known as Jesus Christ, know to wait on the Lord for husbands that they might meet men that will intentionally put to death the deed of insisting on ruling their wives at the expense even of their spiritual convictions. Essentially, the Lord is the one that can give you a man that will intentionally regard having your considerations be a matter of great interest. What you think must matter. And indeed, it's so haughty an issue that in the scriptures it is written that men, if you don't listen to your wives, even your desires will not desires, sorry, but your prayers will be hindered. So Christian men are counseled to not only love women the way that Christ loved the church, love their wives the way that Christ loved the church, but they're also told, listen to your wives, all your prayers are going to be hindered. That is how it is under heaven, that God Almighty basically counsels God-fearing men to just do a better thing, like in these ugly streets of earth. Like, please, just, you know what, do better. Like, do better. Okay, that is what God Almighty got to say. So if the Lord has such a mammoth controversy to pick with disregard of female issues, if God has such a mammoth controversy to pick with female issues, with whatever it is, or with whatever it is that women are, with men issues pertaining females, like if God is picking a controversy with ignoring women, it says that unless you go to God, you're never going to come right with love. Well, not so much never. There are worldly men that have some level of self-control. Largely, especially when there is the epidemic of sorrow that is going on in your community, like what's going on, the grain and the black community, you're just not going to win. You're going to be in this weird relationship where Indotanje is cold. That's why I couldn't help you in his life. We are insistent in acting in a somewhere along the way. It's a means of dealing with you. Punisher, lack of affection, or punishwa, ignore, or punishwa, out on a limb. And I get in the black community that abantu abazozibulala. Ngiyathenjwa ukuthi umuntu angashiwa nje alonely and just make it and survive. So they literally leave people out on a limb until kuyashonwa. They leave people out on a limb until next thing surprised ukuthi umuntu uzibulele. Kuyashiwa nje. And like across the board, there's just like a culture of comprehensively ignoring botoko, a culture of comprehensively ignoring botoko that a person is enduring, and nobody knows what in the world is going on over there. But you know, it's going on. Like, listen, it's going on. It's happening. All right. And then tinabangeke asinandaba nokugoa on loku, because like I said, I don't care for yonke lezinto enizenzayo. Nake khathetse ke lwane eneke zamme huwa. Jwanong rintuti sifubeng. Le batla on foster lenyalo leke snang tabaka lona. It's getting very busy. Like everywhere it's very busy. Like it's just so busy. Like the streets are busy. And they were busy bona. I'm like, and I was prepared to refine. I'm full of angry. I'm full of voice. As an angry black woman, and I'm so angry, like as in blowing steam out from the top of my head. I'm so blow steam out from the top of my head. Ngoba ngichathe ini no angihlalokhanya akithonyala nje mara lo nyala hona nje it's part of the curse. From now on, your desire will be for your husbands. And so njengoma ninama desires angaka, I hate it. And so I intend sangena mayitseo grandchild. Njengoma ama-desires wenu anivimbe ngama-jealousy. Yeah. Njengoma ama-desire enu anivimbe ngama-jealousy. Kanotwanele right mona halebone kanje. Why khona everyday? For khoba right, khofola. Why do people think ukuthi wonke umuntu uzophumelana seka healthy, wealthy and wise? Listen, I don't know. Where do you get the ideas that you get that you're going to be alright? Because ngifila ngathi kuclear ukuthi kudwet via over here. Yeah, whatever. Kufunwa uthando kodwa akufunwa irresponsibility yokuhandlisha lo thando lo le rato le batla ngure halena taba lo sebetsa molona and jaka hale sa advice ke nna sa go bereka mo le rodo nna I cannot tell ba kanlena like as a concert I'm not banani mamela nkatele nyamosha and bele ba le mona hure because I think from now on a woman's desire will be for her husband, so of course usisters uzokompita kabuhlungabi ngothando uzofuna ukuthi ungathandwa kahle ngoba lerato eno ke currency emwe egotsi ke gold ke silver ngoba sadi it's currency dog. Like if you can land a marriage ANC sense la emgatweni women be out here on some I succeeded doing lerato mamela I made it yeah I made it ingati amporushona in a very horrible car accident best my patch up back together again and then mase ufola esibhedlela kuthiwa oh she made it after surgery, yo, she made it. Yeah, you be out there looking at marriage like you done made it when it finally happens. So, of course, then when marriage is happy, that's what you be blocking. Like you invest in the black community because it's a prized possession. Or healthy on the part of abafazi, babantu amnyama, not just abafazi generally. In the black community, uthando alukezwa and manje when there's no love, when amadoda are actively going out of their way to like love women, when they're working like dogs and you'll pretend nachi. If a woman can actually have a considerate boyfriend or a considerate husband, I stick so what discording, I know listening to manyalo, guys. Listen to marato because bafazi ba batla lerato le nagangane bana ba batlo bontsha lerato, so as a result of not showing love girlfriend that they can't afford to lose. They lose their best girlfriends. They lose their best chiquitas. And after losing la chiquita, lava. I know, Njaki, it busy a lawyer bokamosoba OC altogether. It busy, it can just be parafini inuti. Mofudima, Kamva, Yavera, Yaus. Utatola these older black girls like proper, they be turning 50 this year. Abaga chat because they were the baddest chicks in the game. And in history, nebasana matata, akonyala, they didn't struggle no chata. No chata, so marujola. They didn't struggle with jola. Marajuano, hakonyali. OC, why osa khononyala? Tlhalo sets. Tswa ka taba ke mametse. Ke batla go comprehend, ke batla go understand. Ke mametse. Okay. Okay. I know mara still like tlhaloganye kopa o tlhalosa hape OC. O jotele jo molipita le Reggie. Ha go sebetsa da. Last time me o no jola le mang? Mr. Maronza. Okay. After yena also ka o rata hape hantle. Okay. How bono re Mr. Maronza o kholoile? That's the black community. Across the board. And I'm like, I said, no, Nakisha, Kareji, Mr. Maronza, Batoloyang, ex-girlfriends, Abona, Passable, our sisters, Bangas born, Bangas recognize this when our sisters, Ashe. Anamo, Chunjefella, Otohonang, Mubona, Hantle, Mosibu, Hashebi. So, Jack, as Thomas Maronza, Pilematahagana. I don't block at the prospect that Reji, these people from proposing to new girlfriend. I know. I'm very exhausted. Very exhausted. The black community. Like, I'm a relationships. I'm Moshayo. The Bantam has by this girl themselves. So, Tabantu variety. I'm a melan. Kesha, Pogalo. Lolo Haleko, Panegresha. As an immigrant. Filangaji. Sasa no manganboni ngeke ngikhumbule ukuthi benikhona izolo la ngizonikhumbuла hakwelo khopola ko baleta hala batho ba thobele marato a happy mara ho saka ba bo happiness mo black community kita ba go basadi ba batla banna ba tlo ba ratang ha ba ba rate e be ba le mona at the prospect of lerato le nkareng sense on the part of their friends because bona bafuna ukubuka abanye abantu baba happy amadoda bona abakwazi ukuthanda abafazi abafuna ukuthanda abafazi. And so because of our when then women leave them because listen, you were insufficient as a boyfriend. And make sure that they don't get married. And now when they get older and not get married, hey, but to call it all time, all over the show. And so how why is that even a thing? Why I've just explained. It's their way of punishing Abafazi for being strong. And Abas so strong, so sterk Babafazi. Abazingeni, Abanandaba, level strong Babasaj. Hababatle Basadi by peeling Matabale Sterkisi, Batwe gets incredible help. And so because Hababatle Basadi by the incredible help, Mama Pelonga Bona, Babasing it. Because Bona they never got used to women seeking liberation, resisting it until they finally accepted. They never got to a point that the interim phase that every other that white men basically had to resist and then realize they can't resist anymore. Women are riotous. Black men never had it. And so now they're punishing us by hypersexualizing us, reducing whole righteous women, good girls, to whores, trying to make side chicks out of Abafazi that are frankly wife material, and robbing men of wives, taking anything in the family, any funayo, and a manjo who had a Ebe le tlo manipulate ka boloi bo crensha polifilang ka re ke bona ba tlo lo etsa gore le khoza batho ba seng snacks ba snang di character flaws gore ba beletso le hesha crensha personality is snacks e go be e go begileng ya 250 mo batho gore ka ofela go tlo nwa ka ofela ka tlo tawa ka ofela ka tlo tuba ka ofela ka tlo nje fela re latlhegelwe ke bontle ba go ba batho so ke kwamele silahlekelo ngobuntu amen. Then when we're a nice little circus in a cockpit right makunjena so guess what yeah, and then Karabo comes up born again bona ngore le moetsa di satanento ke tshilo ka re no maksasa ngamboni angizobuza ukuthi grandship ukuphi uTheo uwe umandla angisibhanga ndaba grandship ngabo bani angibasi akena ndaba. I've got amnesia, I've got a bad case of dementia, ake ba bone ka nneke sa ake ba gopole doctor angibabona kinale mental illness today. It's called forgetfulness. Oops. Ha ke na taba le mo akhathi ngake. So ba osi a re tlotlenka a situation lona o re dintshang mo why le jang let's ga nonsense le suga so nka re tshwantse le lo tlhatswa di jeres ka matsogo ka se cause banna ke mo a ke ga bana le rato ba hanne ho le rekela washing machine so jwanong tshwantse your fingers di be callous mona o lo ba le knuckles tse tshwanang le mangwele a mang a dark cause later then I funa ukuthengela i hoover ayifuna ukuthenga imoto ifini ngathi umfazi kwamela ayokoropa ale mama mweleng o feel nkare wena o deserve mangwele o feel nkare leo knuckles tshwantse di be black because bila wena o hlatswa washing here ha ba tlo rekela washing machine because yena o gopotse the good old days when women used to work hard in the home. Now today it was spoiled like a mop ke a bona ka go spoiled like a vacuum cleaner ke a bona ka go spoiled like a washing machine so o tlo kena mo ga bata o ka sef le omo o si o lo suga. Those are your husbands. Yeah. Dog amadoda eno unfoster ukwasha impahla ngezandla because bakhumbula days of simplicity when women are out here be doing laundry ka montle mo hara skotlolo ba bere dituku le ditulu around their bodies ba emetse fela monna ra go tle go jarateng a rekile nama ra tlo iphega yo ashe ba bona fela those good old for them it's like sweet old days ha ba bona seen in their minds it's like I could think of better days when my life was that much better but to be just next time. It's why in the entertainment industry in South Africa, who gets so much polygamy and who gets the show it's why we notice culture, the rural culture into suburbia. Because before they got enslaved, when they were living in mud huts, where women were out here dealing with men abanjalo, ba fika jarting, ba appreciate for inyame ba tangi, ba revert back to that to a point of grabbing urbanized modern women. And saying, bona ngwana go tletse skotlolo le sef ba ntse fela mbontsha go jang lo suga wa shingila matsogo kana ba teng cheeky be out having dragon claws for a manicure and dude is out just trying to exploit a fetish on a modern chick eventually because what I lerato kankan about to summon I showed my man that I could wash him patla ngezandla because he asked it was like a fetish, it was like a kinky thing that we did. Pre-slavery days. Oh my is wildest dreams. Osi. Abasa go rata ba go chitela. Aba alu. Aba go pasa reverse psychology shit. Abasa go crazy. Abasa bedisa taba ya hore o batla validation against you. Asa go do the next. Abankanyanzi esa go tshwaneleng eleng lesser than you. Aba para in your face as better than you. Because when you made him feel emasculated by the fact that you started a business and it succeeded, while he tried to start one and ya flopper. Best I don't punish that died there. I know, askisi shem so hard. You can keep your little Benjamins lankuta. Right now, right. You should not you. If I want to anguzuti, back way and so to muban by your nang mas. No, my men plumina just yesterday. You talk like him on saying, amnesia. I will be willing to take in my stride. Diagnosis of a mental illness. Because I'm not zonke listen to anything about sisters. The what desperation babo acting in this fashion who lo foster banda not who foster sorry mara lo foster rato ko banda ba sa batleng ho nefa rato la teng mamelang or what has happened over the years. This is the point I'm getting to. Ke yona like ke fitlang go yona ena ya perana don ke yona like nna ke tlo fitlang go yona ya go bua ka go cover steering gore bona ba le ruta gore le be snacks jwang anare while ho le monate jana go ba snacks jana it's because no one can nienze snacks by each other and so after nienze snacks by each other bese wonke umuntu ngafuna lo snacks no trying to break away from the snacks culture, the snacks grain le tlo ba etsa ntho le nketsang yona le bele shebele mothatlo ka fala in your faces the monster of the century se le khohlaketswe to the nth degree tse nlahlekela ho bonke ubuntu ke all of your humaneness lankutwa. It's all gone now because the way that you are so self-destructive, the way listening it's but things have gone to a point where umuntu that insist on holding on to a gun zangafuna ukuba baby mama nje yendoda emosha abafazi engenandaba nokuthanda crash up hake manje because vele why would I want somebody ongeke anginikeza uthando bese ngicina ngikwatile all the time kile angry black woman hake dikene jwana bona letsa se le fetelletse jwana se le bola se le fokotsa motho le mo qhetele re nna ke arrogant for hana lo accommodate ntho le yentse gore le tie to point of watching umfazi a show anyway khaleke wait ntse ntona le batwa ke it's a very long winding argument and that's why next about to discuss a situation in akere mara ke mo ke kene ko mo hara yona so since we're already deep in the center of it after gazing at its nucleus a re tswela mpele re felletse okay hebo ngwana bo ntwaza bo sister bo girl bo whatever ne Kimo situation in the from now on, a man's desire, a woman's desire will be for her husband. You want love like every other race, but you're not getting it for reasons I've just highlighted in our men. So what then happened? This then brings me to the point. I get a lot of and I taught psychologically you've been wired by God. Not by any means necessary, no matter what. But you see, it was a curse on Eve to desire her husband because that desire is a desire by any means necessary. It is a disregard of God in favor of the favor of men. It is a disregard of God's precepts. It is essentially celebrating until you will fight other women, until you will fight anything, you will by any means necessary marry. Women are by far the biggest compromisers in the Christian faith when it comes to waiting on the Lord for husbands or spouses. Evil that are the first to settle for unequal yoking, and evil women that are more willing than men in the body of Christ to, so they first accommodate unequal yoking, and those that try to hold out. Women are the ones to very off the cuff, despite being Christian and convinced of unequal yoking. They are the one single demographic between men and women in the body of Christ that will disregard the scriptures altogether pertaining unequal yoking with unbelievers, especially when they feel like their biological clocks are ticking. Women are more likely to ignore the importance of equal yoking than men in the faith. Men in the faith are more resilient to wait for God-fearing wives than women are resilient to wait for God-fearing men, because it's women's curse to desire their husbands by any means necessary. And then secondly, even in the beginning, if they wanted to wait on the Lord for God-fearing men, they're the ones that are going to first drop the ball on that insistence before men ever can. Men are more willing to ride out years of singlehood waiting on the right girl that God will show him than women. We are the ones that are fast and furious willing to accommodate a guy. I nearly did that. So I'm not exempt. With the guy from the US, he was evidently not of God. And I was going to marry him if God did not end it. Red flags completely ignored. I have a guy, like the guy MTN that I used to date briefly. He ignored the red flag. He ignored it. Women do that quickly, but God protected me. So I'm glad that I'm still single today. I would not still be married to it. Either I'd be dead or divorced. I wasn't going to stay there. I wasn't going to stay. The guy I wasn't going to manage. And the one the US, so I wasn't even going to get out. Because I'm willing to accommodate I'm more willing to say, a little mugwanchi, a little whore. A seductress, out your lips dripping honey. If he's a discerning man of God that has been waiting all this time for a wife, evidently uzoba apprehensive and either agazomshela or uzoba willing to just let this go. I'm not that I don't rush into marriage. Women are the ones that rush into it. That is the curse. From now on, a woman's desire will be for her husband. It is only a curse because women disregard the right thing to do just for the acquisition of love. They just ignore it, like flat out, no matter how intelligent they might be. They just ignore the truth that they know. They ignore it. That's women for you. And of course, the lording it over women with an iron fist by men is also a curse, because Adam is supposed to love his wife the way that Christ loved the church. And Adam, the second Adam, implored the first Adam to do that. And the second Adam also told Adam that listen to your wives, else your prayers should be hindered. Eve is told submit under your men and don't resist his lordship, small l. He, however, when you get married, Paul says that make sure that you marry somebody that is of God. So godly women ought wait on the Lord for godly spouses. And if you live in a culture where you're not being forced arranged marriage, then as a woman, you have a prerogative to wait no matter how long it takes for the man that fears the Lord to find you that you asked him for. If you're not being forced to marry, because women have a history of just being wed off to whoever, so sometimes they could not help who they ended up married to because of culture. But now in 2026, you can help it. So if you can help it, marry a believer. And a believer only, and stay single if there is no believer in the room to be found, if there is no believer to be found in sight anyway. Women therefore are told unequal yoking is wrong, both men and women, but women ignore it faster. And women are told submit. They have an inclination within themselves to disregard men and their leadership. And it's harder to submit to a man that is ungodly, because he will want to lord it over you, and you will have a passive aggression within you pertaining that lordship. And if at all you've got your own money, if you can take care of yourself, you are also going to tell him and so if at all you have your own sustenance. And that's what caused the epidemic of controlling women's finances on the part of our men. And they are growing up in an era of feminism that has caused women in certain respects to disregard their God-ordained roles to submit under us. But it's very hard for a woman to submit under a tyrant. Feel entitled to the nhlonipho. Yinja nje esihlanyayo ayizomthanda, ayizomrespect, ayizomhlonipha, ayizoregada indaba yokuthi uGod uyafuna ukuthi azwe She must be heard. Listen to your wives or your prayers will be hindered. And also love her the way that Christ loved the church. So don't withhold affection. Don't give her reverse psychology trash. And do not punish your woman by invalidating her, by harassing her, by sexually defiling by enjoying her through sexual acts as a lewd. That's what black men do to black girls. Do not teach her witchcraft, you idiot. Do not subjugate her to the tyranny of like hypersensuality. It's not good. The way that black women are just be scantily clad at public events. It's an epidemic in the black community. Though it is found all across these streets in many other races, it is black men that largely pride themselves in the contours, the beautiful, perfect bodies of their women, to be seen by the whole world. Remember what Kanye West did with, is it Bianca, whatever, that chick dealer after Kim Kardashian. They pride themselves in straight. But you see, that's why you must avoid unequal yoking with unbelievers. And that is why you must run to God, that if a man all wrong, and in 2026 we have the luxury to flee. As women, we are no longer being thrust into arranged ecosystems. And in but on some even though I met you, I don't care. Who are you to say of me that who do you think you are? You're gonna think you're better, mamela. Look at how bitter you are, and look at how you're leaving me out on a limb as a woman. Because of though you were planned, hitting the ground running, kaspisa parapinyo, golonyala, mona, ona sa rato, ona sinatawa. Ona feel entitled to you being in like 16th century black culture before colonizers came on board. But you're living in 2026. Ayana ndaba nama human rights wakho nendaba yokuthi uyasebenzela ukuthathela imali yakho sterilizer nemithi neutering your womb so as to make money through bana ba hao, because when sa go drainile ha o gona o itholla business mara wa patala ditsela. You are being made to revert back, to regress, to accommodate our polygamy after we conquered all that. Amadoda nje fela that keep on piling brand spanking new wives on themselves. Mamela, we overcame the nonsense. And look at you being reverted back to the rubbish again. Mudimu ole 40 seeds. Lunana akina taba lo go fola. Angina ndaba no kuba better, okay? Because at the end of the day, mina yazi into engifunayo lana. Mcha, yo, no matter what like rubbish dude endured you through before you chat, we am chatter anyway. Look at this chick at YouTube. This guy has already proven unfaithful to his wife Guyana. Into random sexual acts as he lewd. Ngamsebenzisa YouTube amenza iplant ukuthi ayoyenza abazalwane, ayolimaza abazalwane. Wamsebenzisa YouTube ore alo hebo komo dila things abazalwane amontsha abazalwane. Aritswa Jesu just akasebetaba le wena. Oswatenga agcina jwana ngale mo meeting achisang pertaining that. And then, in a polyamorous affair where she was the third wheel. And then, among the Christians that she kept on surveilling to make sure Christianity in the country, she then happened upon Kanabu. After divorce, the wife is divorcing him because since she was his mistress for years, I expect because we've been together all this time and I've been ride or die to you as a side chick in a polyamorous affair with you. And then you see Karabo and now you want to marry Karabo. This chick is angry at me after singing me the boy is mine. Even though he is this unreliable and the level of betrayal, and she still is out just salivating after Rinyate. Disease. She is still salivating after Rin. Disease. Monitor. Lenna enketse mohutswi ke lo hutswa nje fela bebe ka moso ya batho ka boloi monna o tlonketsang rubbish monna o tlonketsang o reketse di lewd sex acts se sang tshwaneleng because I get they like to hypersexualize black women and then after that call us whores and b words after I get said in total lenna jona go ba chepisi under his feet esa tshwaneleng anymore. And so virtue. Insist virtue. The next chick with whom he wants to the next woman that he wants to leave for me. No, sorry, the next woman that he wants to leave me for. Turns the naked on runs on the boy's man. Len like lo mo latela morago ka re ke mogatla jaaka this chick amala deletse morago even though ke rabishekana. Namatota we. Imagine you arrogant kanjani when I don't want a man like that. It's self-preserving. So if you're not self-preserving, I get that is from now on a woman's desires will be for her husband. by any means necessary, noma kungabonakali, noma kungabukeki, noma kungayenzi sense, is for your husband, angisho. Ufuna indoda by any means necessary. Nothing else will give. Angisho. What has it produced? The sin of the century, of the decade. Your women are going to the flames of hell in your very many numbers because of the curse on Eve. What is that curse? The love of men above God. This chick at YouTube is the perfect epic example of that. Ushiye ubuzalwane nje bonke for lenjale. Wazi alawa ukuthi ayenziwe in hybrid ngoba mekathemba lenjale above ibhibhi. Manje akasindiseki. Musadi kimo uyadihele. Athepile munna mame. Othepile munna. I can tell what saying this chick, I have felt so sorry for her. I stood in the gap. What you say, why as a crime moya o halalelang jaka ha arapela hagan. O kupile, uramutus. How would you asa mufamoya o halalelang? Go short the sentence and Jeffla holding on to try holding them on to. King and toilet handling Masaki Bawatawan. The barriga fell or conje, rental, agadin, chatter, rabasite, that's Sonke we're gonna be a grain. Because they were all, it ends with me. That's why I'm to making no. That's why it's not alone. That's why in company got talk and that's why in company got so far like it's not next. Kinsa kela mwana ki complain mo go di marofo. Di jaga tse tsotlhe. Ke sa tsebo ke ketseng ke batla go ntsha melia. In company ka tsola pele jwa. Nankutu. Di jaga tse ka ofe. Ke be ke 1050 ke mena pause without monna. Then accommodate ntwe ele entseng di stigla moni la bela la tlhagelwa ke re le ke pholoso. Ha le gono you can't lose your salvation. Also, because that's how in the first place. She was never truly surrendered. So that's why I'm extra. It just makes me piece up paraffin bullet in the flesh. In an opposite direction. What? Because guys, it was on giving Vimba so good to Uyong Gitagati Sagan. But I'm keeping this Bagasana Villa just on the oral letter, Moloa Jesso. Now, wake up, fella, keep Puchumata, Kakamfagama Hodimo. Make it all. Rata wena wenye o ga bishu tswa mamina and how gate basadi how gate bocheri you are a misogynist, you are a flagrant chauvinist and o kanga ukuthi kwamele mina ngiyowasha washing out of his control ngezandla sami ngeself ngoba you've got a fetish of restoring black women to the days of just absolute dependence on you ngoba nisafuna ukuyobhihisa without consequences manje manibhihisa abafazi ama consequence is loss of my girlfriend. That's why all of y'all are out here still hung up on your exes married to new women. Now there are consequences. You are losing women because you're just absolutely nonsense towards them. Next thing, about Twitter, Baska no nyalwa. Ha, site bale ba dona kimo slicker o Twitter bonang po. Woodley, wo obvious. Kimo tepo mabona o Twitter tembisi ate po. Woodley. Ba eta ntongena tse jene so. So what are we gonna do with all that? Listen, what? Sure, company na eka lo tlhoka fala. Kisna monna because another ke tlonyala insistence ya ex-boyfriend ya ka king. Wa ha ba no tlonyalwa o ha ba no tlojala le monna tlo from AIDS. That was my ex-boyfriend's witchcraft. Ha ba no tlonyala monna sa tshwana o pilang in comparison to me. When in and of himself he left a lot to be desired. In and of himself he left a lot to be desired. So if I'm going to date down on him, ke lo thola leng bela ho. Se botho sa go strategy. Janki ke no nyala nje fela nja e tswang mamina e washang because he left a lot to be desired. So if I'm gonna date down from him, ke thola leng exactly. Marenza pampiri, like floating around mo strateng ipushwa ke moya wa monna. Something just incredibly and incendiary, incredibly lackluster, incendiary in his ways. And indeed, ever since yena ex-yatengi because of bulwe ba hae, ntse ke shela ke bona bana bana ba mollo, bana ba go tuka ba tshesang basadi, ba isang dihele. Ke shetswe ke bona fela. So that's why I get a single hakan. And right now I'm 41. Mamela, I will turn 50, single. Rather than you capitulate to tagati be ex-boyfriend yam, insistile. We're not going to any willing when to if it can was that it's coming like a bat out of head, out of hell, like M. Queen. Oh, Hanne, I give you no rata. Oh, Hanne, no maintain a virtual high. Oh, Hanne, Unyana. I can't drag what through the mud. I've just been strung along. I'm at the always with their noses out in the sky trying to figure out if they can find something better. Trying to use women as placeholders. And then, Yanjula train, Yanjula Inish, Hakatama Baba beat Hakito Moyen. Abaga also to write my life and crash up with the next guy or Lana, Agnes 80 or do. Never by ex Yaka, except when you're over 20 busy in a relationship. One time, I'm loyal Rikiska Muchitela, I can keep bleeding as in my period for 3 months, because 9 gets something down there. Muna all in Western, the king, Rodent, Kilo Hawk, as a mosh. and so since bestiality, it's fine, I'll stay single. So arrogant to not date ihash, because that's what my ex insists. I'm my ex-boyfriend that passed you up, that didn't marry you, that you dumped because they were not putting their weight. Man, in the hands of ritualists. Man, in the hands of what? Do you understand? These men that you were with in the past, and there's one only piece like we all did. You wanna come by, you wanna camaraderie, but I go fella who lost where left and right, no comfort and I got my hour. I go fella and yes, people beating Jack, people sata. No, Kisha, Bobo girl, listen, I'm good. Kisha on like a right day, I get over rechte lang kutra ever again. And so I main chick, and so Mufazi, daughter, busy, jumper, out your daughter, bending over backwards, jumping through hoops. Well, your sister is in indlela zakhe eziningi nje ahlala ashawara kereka phone yakhe ilimo hara shawalena ebe water kweki steam because what's about a girlfriend that thing musadi wa teng o here o gona ke lo unlock phone yakhe ga sa tsebe password so mona teng o shawara ka yona mo hara shower listen it's phone ya mo hara hold the ya safe o prepared we water log and rather than musadi wa teng a lo iphawisa phone ya teng a hlapa Anyo dila nendo tenjalo do. I could dila ka monna o tlo bang dinga tsenga tanga mo strateng a tlo go tshaka tenga ke show ya guy. He could be going for a quickie with a chick about to after 2 hours me thinking what you know. He was just out there taking a drive hanging out with the boys kanti he was in a quickie. Anyo ba mina iregte yenjalo. Ko ba regte ya monna. On tsa le busy as lo go ya higher down. A shela bo OC a go tla spa go lokisa bo batho ba lo bo rekang for rona go tshaka teng. A ke tlo le monna o shelang ka montle ka moneng ka re sentse go high school lang kutwa. I'm not going to be with a man that easily hollers at mistresses. When I was living for the William, there was this guy. Oh, I think I've told you a story about him before. I was trying to restart my vehicle. One season, I booster cables was 70 motor. I was grateful neighbor, donkey son. And then a couple of days down the line, I came walking around in the complex. I push out my twins, walking basically in a stroller. His newborn twin boys. And so I was like, oh, okay, he's a dad. Yeah, what's up? Hey, wow, what's good? And after seeing me enough times and taking Medisa, I was grateful to see it. Upon realizing I'm having a hard time, I put apartment. You know what I used to do? In my door, in and those things that you can look into. Yeah, this guy, I don't know how many times he came to my unit. As I come once a regular guy, I go on a number in my apartment on the parking lot. I want to number 40 what. I decided to my 2 flights of stairs. I don't go like this. The reason I ignored him and didn't open the door was because Onang shared one time go Clubhouse and I cordially rejected it. I was like, no thanks. Because Nikita wanna do like complexing limside wahan. Wanna do like in that very complex one first of all. Wanna do like more complexing limside what they. Jono, Hadamono Mona Hana Tompo for Ena Hakaka. Ha Akoshela Otabona Lamusadi. He's basically asking you, can you be my mistress? Can you be my second best? Can you be something on the side for me to nibble into? I will never marry you. I will never make out of you an honest woman. You see me with my children. You know I live here with my wife. So if you're going to have an affair with me, understand that you're just going to be my side. Can you just be scraps for me? Please, I'm begging you. It's so disrespectful. It's one thing for a married man and so you get duped and deceived. Also family walking up and down the streets. And then after that, he's like saying, anyway, because I am out here trying to defile your reputation. All I want to do is hit that. When a man is hollering at you with that, I would like to make decency or at least a false promise you love. He is just promising you the status of being a mistress. I don't know how many days, a week, he would come. Hi, I just wanted to check on you. What do you want, though? I stood there, and I just looked at that peeping hole thing in my lobby. That little thing, come on. As the guys, he would go for so long, I would ignore it, acting like I'm not home. I would ignore it. I was like, what does he want, though? What does he want from me? What does he want? That man never stopped him out. He was high and low, trying hard to get a mistress. Not only did I also one time got a dream of what he's trying to do to me. So I was like, I just ignored him. I'm not gonna marry a man like that. Living in the same complex. Unit number 47. Dog. And if this woman accommodates him, in the same complex that I live in now. There. My cousin enjoyed something like that. Husband get high, inanely busy hitting some chick a couple of doors down. He was flirting with some chick, and the next thing, what's gonna lie? And my cousin found out a whole raucous, very embarrassing, so complex. Cause like just a few doors down from you. In the Tayako, when he is coming home a little bit later today, you be thinking that he's delayed. What's about by a certain time? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 16 footsteps and he's home. My cousin was married to a man like that. Is official in just a few doors down. I'm not gonna marry an idiot that disregarding of my pain, of my sorrow, of my person. And I'm not in wonke anjalo. Ako nyala out here letting nacha. Ako koma. And I don't know if I'm busy and I'm busy language. I'm going to go over the trial out here and I and take over the money. Give a little shabaka that peeping whole thing. Annoying me. You don't even sound like a knock. It's not like go boys like I'm only busy just feel like just growling at my freaking door. Go, I'm so booya. I go booya. Langkoko that I get alone and yet. When I'm only bonisa. In the beginning of my message. Oh, but I'm what I see. I'm saying for now. That unfaithful to myself. It's happening. I'm very passionate, emotional. Man, I've got too much pain in my heart. Lights out. I can self-control. I 17 in high school. We are experimenting sexuality. He only had sex about 2 weeks ago, and man, it was so good, so he keeps on experimenting with any girl that will be willing to sleep with it. Just like a joke or trying to any cheerleader. Another class in the same grade. Older. I experiment girls in matric. How move on to a new grade. Grade 8 Amancha. Say one. In 1 year with 4 girls, all throughout his high school career. 70 out of all of them were break my virginity I ate. And Linda Ballet. Won't get about chicken by as would he play a quarter we are saying is a table. In the commander when he's table. Atlanta, cause run old donor or who delay, get I couldn't the chelete. Abato, Shapa, Ayosha, and Jeffela, 12 chicks in the same call center. There was an idiot monster of that nature. MTN. Oh, some Melina. One time I go this high sign document because he was a GM. I'm like, I need a signature. I can fit more logo that high and not personally. Usually I would leave documents like PA a day. On the one day, I give a signature. I give a signature. Sign a document. And I was like, hi. Listen, this is handling Leonard. I was like, hi, Leonard. I'm so glad to see you good desking. I don't know if you have time to sign this here addendum, this here change document. We need to do this thing, blah blah blah. He said looking up at me as in a seated position, and he was like, as he was like on an oscillating chair. You know these chairs that are to be spinning with wheels on them. He was busy out rolling around in his chair, and he was like, I'll sign it to you right now without even reading it if you will agree to dinner with me. And I got there, I said, listen, I said, bling money in a thank God king wedding band. I was like, I guess what that means is that I'm leaving it with your PA then. And I left. So he just figured, no, it's only a matter of time. He didn't stop until one day when he was driving his vehicle out, and I was in the parking lot, also about to go to get in my car to go. I was still walking in the parking lot. I stopped and he was like, so how's about that dinner? I was like, you're a Casanova, I'm not gonna date you. And he was visibly embarrassed most at my room. And a few years later, I guess what I look like, because I'm sure I passed the same girl, almost 18 years ago. I was like, akakhumbuli nakho nokukhumbula nabo chicken abashelayo. I-cousin yakhe was our colleague. Unabuwa ka taba umsadi wa hae le exploits tsa gagwe tse ngata. This guy was so hectic that one chick in particular, an account manager, wako Constantia, he had an exchange with her wamshare, and this chick, it spread like wildfire in the room, in the office. And the way I'm keeping a con, wamisa kueja, wamkeeper for inyong for sexual harassment. He faced a disciplinary hearing because of that chick. And when then it came to all of us, we were like, yo, finally somebody was brave enough to give him whistleblower. And this happened years down the line. I was like, yo, the chick thing, I want that man. Oh, strong. Oh, hectic. No, thank you. And walked away. Especially the ones in the call center. And one of them was in love with him. There was this chick that I used to be friends with during the group hosting program at MTN. She used to know some chick that 2010, the World Cup. She used to know some chick that was sleeping with him on a and this chick was like, but I'm in love with him, I can't let him go. And I remember just thinking, my friend and I can't how in the world is this chick in love with a married man, all in busy, all in hectic, what's going on? Girl, you are naive, but that's just the nature of crazy labor. From now on, your desire will be for your husband. How are you going to be after falling in love with a married man, or obvious, or anything and anyone? Man, you're nothing. You're just some call center agent. Excited to for a few months. After that, I wonder if Nasa I spread a disease. With whom I was having a conversation. Each kid that worked in the call center, and she was in love with him. There were some women that accommodated him. Imagine with that kind of reputation, cousin yake, the one that used to work with us, she'd be like, hey, he's my cousin, hey, he's my cousin. And she was like, hey, he's my cousin. The cousin was a girl, a woman. But he's my cousin, he's my cousin. I was like, yo, cousin, how can you go? I didn't say it in so many words. Administrator, officing Mr. General Manager. Like, I will sign your document if you just agree to go to dinner with me. If I go to dinner with you, on what day of the week are we going to be going to dinner, and where exactly where? Johannesburg Edna is not going to recognize you and then see that you are out with like Inyansi, seeing as you're like Mr. Popular. And kana kwa tenge jaka ga o tlo nkisa dineng ga kana. Mosadi wa teng o go kae? O etsa? O go amogetse nje fela o busy mo strateng. Mamela, basadi ba nyelang banna ba sona la ba tseba go ba jwang. And so jwana ga se le kwatile ga kana le blower steam. Also, no se ba go also out tingena ena isha like everything. If anything, now o shela nje kanjalo. Now we keep some other women out the way. So, single ladies in the complex. In the same complex. Self-preserving. But anyway, I gotta get to the point. So I'm getting to another point, Jane. Because ampolaya le tshwaetse ho thola anything e le batlang le tshwaetse bongwana ne mamela le ni tshwaetsile. So of course lifulaka le hlabekile o violent jwalo banna in violent cultures ke mo Taliban ere it's okay to beat a woman up and so far as you don't break her bones. So all of y'all it's okay to kill a woman and so far as she's bruising my ego. Look, you're even worse than the Taliban. Shame. Nonsense. Jaka khale phela mo di culture-eng tse sa bonagaleng ga kana. Ha eo engwe ntshonnang ka le etsetsang yona e nkarenya bona gala. After all, ha ona ntwe bonagalang a kere e etsagalang. Angish, ake organjan. Ha le bui, le dimumu. Yo, ha se batho tswa ka tabanna ha ona ntwe nka lesang yona he. Dimumu to. Le dutse mo di kentse dimumu. Re tla le setsang. Ha le batho bua ke. Mara le za. Ba o si a re bueng he dimumu ne. Yeah. I don't like you because I can't really move, so it's like here, the Lord showed me where I think and then I don't know so y'all have been conditioned. And then I'll get them more Hollywood conglomerate as caucus and then just comfort yourselves and your deadbeat husbands. You're not being the only ones married to them. Hey. At least, yeah, I can look at at least. I look up on the Tana lenza leap, dopa leap, sinaka at least. At least that's enough, eh? At least, na waka mona, actually more complexing, at least waka o apara condom. At least wa ka ha etse bana le dinyatse, at least ebe le tlo lighta metšhisi bo ngwana le batla go ntšhesa ebe modimo a re ai at least re ba file gospel. Amen. O ha di fitla di heleng le ska re ha ga desa daso kimo. There you go, baby. There you go. Yeah, you have been conditioned. And I'm gonna say this again, even though already long ago, Sekichi. So there is this gentleman from long ago, a psychologist, a theorist by the name of Ivan Pavlov, depending on your twang, you can say it however you desire. His name is Ivan Pavlov, and he came up with a study using dogs, the dogs of which came to be known as Pavlov's dogs. Just like Schrodinger had a kitty cat, and now the experiment of quantum physics is called Schrodinger's cat.